Hello, you're welcome to the maiden edition of What is Happening in Nigeria on Dwell Political Blog. And here we will, be discussing issues that happens in Nigeria because the way things are in Nigeria, it just simply shows that every day remains, it's always news in Nigeria, from issues relating from insecurity to issues to coalition activities of political parties, governance, public policy, and so on and so forth. So many things Nigeria is grappling with at the moment. And what is now on the front burner is issue about insecurity. There's so much insecurity going on in Nigeria. And it appears those who are charged with managing the affairs of Nigeria do not even care about some of these things. So today on what is happening in Nigeria, I'll be discussing, some few things. Recently, we experienced a lot of buying that unaliving that happened in Yelwa, Benue State, and it has set the tone for a lot of discussions. And now they're saying that some arrests have been made, and then we made to understand that these people come from neighboring Nasarawa State. They do not assemble in Benue. They assemble in Nasarawa State, find their way to Benue State, perpetrate this heinous crimes, and then they go their way. And as far as I know, this is about the first time we're having major arrests happening. And another part of issue I would like to talk about today, of course, we just discussed these issues in bits. Issue I want to talk about today is about the future of opposition politics in Nigeria at the moment. The future of because the future of opposition politics looks very, very bleak at the moment. Whether you like it or not, the future of the PDP, the SDP, the Labour Party, who have said to become the major opposition parties in Nigeria, have become very, very bleak. So on the road to 2027, we wonder how the kind of opposition that the APC, led by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will face in that election. And then we want to also look at the formation of new political parties, the ADA, and the issue of the coalition. How much impact can they make, given that the elections by next year, at this time next year, electioneering would have started, and the party is not registered. And we were told by INEC chairman that these political parties, they probably not even meet. Of course, they've expressed interest, and they will start collecting, start reviewing these applications, over 100 of such political parties. So how much impact will the new political party make, considering that there are some elements, so some people who have been in the APC who are now, disgruntled. They are not happy with the way things are going in the country. Are they really not happy about the way things are going, or because their personal, their personal gains or their personal interests, they are not accommodated within the APC? So we'll be looking at a whole lot of these issues and how all of this will have impact in 2027. And come to think of it, how there's this growing discontentment within the in northern Nigeria about the style of Tinubu's this thing. And today, the controversial or the most talked about tax reform bill was signed into law by the president. So in the coming days, will that also be a factor in the electioneering in come 2027? And most importantly, what I'll be talking about today, the last point I want to mention today, is the protests going on in Kenya about the policies of William Ruto. These protests have happened before, and these people demanded that the cabinet members step down, which the people got their way. But now there's a fresh protest going on in Kenya, and we ask ourselves. They said they want the president to go, and when William Ruto came in, he decided to implement the type of IMF policy that Bola Tinubu is implementing in Nigeria that is causing so much hardship, removal of subsidy, and devaluing the naira under the all different guys, and now there's so much poverty going on in Nigeria. This is about the same thing happening in Kenya, and then you've seen the whole country, they're now demanding the resignation of Nigeria. And we ask ourselves, how come we cannot replicate this same thing in Nigeria? And then we look at the youths in Nigeria. What takes their attention? Because the country is just going, it's like a plane going down in its nose, about to crash land. And then the politicians will tell you, these things take time. And we've heard this, be patient, these things take time. From Yar'Adua, from Obasanjo, from Yar'Adua to Jonathan to Buhari. Now these people have come and gone. Things have now become even worse. So we want to look at, as part of the last thing we'll talk about today, is where are the Nigerian youths? Why would the Nigerian youth emulate, what we have in Kenya, demanding for the resignation or removal of the president? So the first thing we want to talk about today is insecurity. Now we've seen in the Northeast, we've seen sort of a resurgence of the Boko Haram. So it's insecurity in Nigeria is sort of a political tool, because when Buhari came on board, when Jonathan was there, let's start with Jonathan. When Boko Haram unleashed untold terror on different parts of Nigeria. We saw in Kano, in Kaduna, in Bauchi, in the main area, Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, capturing different local governments, capturing different areas, unleashing untold terror on people. And I remember telling somebody in 2014, I said, these pockets of bombings and violence you see being unleashed at different parts of Nigeria, trust me, if PDP lose this election, we will see less of these things happening in Nigeria. And true to it, when Buhari came on board in 2015, the issue of Boko Haram became, news or other news. And then we saw the entrance of banditry that started wreaking havoc on the entire Northwest. Now, and then we saw how Buhari tried to, organize what we call the amnesty program, say for repentant Boko Haram. And I've always said there's no such thing as repentant Boko Haram, because if you say these people are repentant Boko Haram and you integrate them into the society, I am telling you, what will be the fate of those, who lost their means of livelihood, people who were unalived by these people? Who takes responsibility for, the unaliving of the people that, the victims of these acts of terror, these acts of crime perpetrated by the Boko Haram and all of that? And we were told that at some point we saw that some people who they call repentant Boko Haram, some of these people ended up finding their way into the security forces, even though the government denied at the time. But we saw these people found their way into the security forces, and they became sort of, we didn't see the Boko Haram disappear. It didn't just disappear, and this thing continued. This thing continued to to be there. And in Buhari's 8 years, we saw all manner of insecurity. Kidnapping became, and my problem with Nigerians is that sometimes I think we forget things easily. The people have totally forgotten the Kuje attack, the bomb, the attack on the trains, the mass kidnapping, the killings in southern Kaduna, bringing all of these things. It appears people just forget these things and then people just go their way. You see, and then we saw agitators from the southeast under the IPOB, and then we saw the Odua people, the agitators also from the southwest. But of course, as we speak right now, these people, they have lost their voice, which is very, very obvious. So now Nigerians have battled the menace of insecurity for too long a time. You can't imagine people in their thousands are being unalived yearly. Even countries who are currently and actively at war, they do not even have as much casualties as we have in Nigeria within the last few years. And so many people have been displaced. So even in countries where they're at war, we've not seen so much casualty as much as we have seen in Nigeria. And it begs to answer a lot of questions have come up over the years, like what is happening in Nigeria? Like, what is happening? How do we get all of these things right? Because this issue of insecurity, is it a business for certain class of people in the society, or is it that the government do not have the capacity, or government do not have what it takes, or the political will to fight insecurity? We know that there's no country, there's no experiencing insecurity, but the threshold at which we have this thing happening in Nigeria is alarming, because even countries who are at war, really at war, do not even have as much casualty and displaced people like we have in Nigeria. Except sometimes maybe some of these things are not even reported in the mainstream media, because some of these things are coming on social media. These things, are so many factors that are responsible for this. For me, I think it rests more on the political class to show that Nigeria is secure. Because if we do a compilation of the cost, and the budget, and what have been budgeted for insecurity in Nigeria within the last 10 years, you just find out that some people have just become rich at the expense of people. So what we want, the question that always comes to my mind anytime I think about the insecurity in Nigeria, is it that the government lacks the political will to fight insecurity, or is the government playing to the gallery when it comes to issues relating to insecurity, or is it that it has become big business for some class of people in the Nigerian? Because for 2025 alone, over $3 billion, was earmarked to fight insecurity, for security. And then you find out at the end of the day, these things, it's just like it's just there on a daily basis. It's just on the increase. People are unalived every day. And if I think we need to do a serious probe on the monies that have been spent on security in the last 10 years. I think there's a need to do serious, not just in the last 10 years, let's say in the last 15 years, because a lot has been expended on security, providing security for Nigeria. Now, security is so important that even the constitutions said that the primary essence of government, that security and welfare is the primary. That means, it's the most important aspect of why we even have government in the first place. So, in the fact that the government has even failed in this, is in ensuring security for the ordinary Nigerians, for ensuring that the ordinary Nigerian goes to bed with his eyes closed. It shows that governance has failed woefully within the last 10, 15 years, because the things that we see happening in Nigeria leaves one a lot to doubt about Nigeria. And then people just complain that, 17 million Nigerian youths have left the country. Of course, people will leave when they know that there's no job, there's nothing, and then you have to now grapple with so much insecurity. And the government spends so much money trying to bring in foreign direct investment. We've gotten pledge from Coca-Cola for $2 billion. We've gotten pledge for investment. But one of the primary factor that ensures the success of a business over time is security. It's security. Because even your investments are not safe. We've seen expatriates being kidnapped. We've seen people lose their means of livelihood. We've seen all manner of things as a result of insecurity. And so it just leaves me a lot to wonder. Now they said, there was intelligence report before the Yelwata attack, and Why I doubt the government's political will in fighting insecurity. In other climes, if such thing happens and it gets public, those who are responsible or charged with the responsibility of ensuring security will have to leave office. They will have to leave office. There's no doubt about that. They just have to leave office. Because if under your watch, 200 people will be unalived in one single day, then you did not deserve to be called the security chief. In other climes, you definitely resign, because that's the only job you do. Security, that's the only job. And then you go to Abuja and you see generals or people who have been part of the fighting insecurity in Nigeria living large, and the people who are the direct victims. Up till date, some people are yet to find their feet as a result of what insecurity has brought to them. So when people say, "Oh, insecurity," I think for me, I think the government lacked the political will. The political will to fight insecurity is not there, because in 2009, I remember very, 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 very vividly when Boko Haram started. On the night Boko Haram started, I was somewhere in Damaturu, and Yaradua was about to travel on a foreign trip to Brazil, and he gave the chief of army staff express directive to quell the Boko, and within few hours the Boko Haram was subdued. And then different stories carried by different foreign media shows that at the end of the day the issue was not properly managed, and Muhammad used to die, and that saw the resurgence of Boko Haram. But mind you, I might just want to say this now, I probably do not have any claim, but the real Boko Haram was there. But I think at some point the Boko Haram itself was even hijacked, and then we saw their activities outside Borno State and all of that. But for me, right now, I think the government do not even have the political will to fight to combat insecurity, and maybe the government is not even doing enough, because you will see from the body language and the way issues are handled. When it comes to the issue of people decamping to the APC, it is treated with so much seriousness, it's given so much attention. But when it comes to the insecurity, people, those in power just play to the gallery. They just do things. It's just like business as usual. Like they just come, because, for example, if you read the president's body language when he was in Benue State last week, and you read the president's body language 2 days ago when he was commissioning tractors in Abuja, you could see that he was more passionate talking about what is happening in other political parties than what, because people have not noticed this, that when the president was in Benue, you're asking the question that why no arrest has been made. This is the question you should have asked the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Minister, even before you got there. So, and the president even issued statement because of the public outcry, and because the Pope has issued statement, and that statement was not coming from a place of proper briefing. Because the statement was talking about reconciliation, peace, and that. It's not even addressing the main issue that what we have is about land grabbing and genocide waiting to happen and all of that in Benin. So when you look at the body language of those in government, when you see them talk about other issues that affects them directly, and they talk about issues that affects the ordinary Nigerian, you could see the passion in which they attack these issues. That will tell you that at some point, the Nigerian cities were just on our own. We're just on our own. This security has become a menace. In fact, it has even solicited, that's gone to a stage where we have to raise a national question about insecurity in Nigeria. How did we get here, and how do we get out of this? In this same Nigeria, the US sent special forces during Buhari to rescue an expatriate that was kidnapped somewhere in Sokoto or Kebbi, around that axis. They came into the country. When they rescued the national, took him out of the country. And then we've seen corps members, adopted on the road. We've seen this happen. We've seen that happen. As we speak, Leah Sharibu is still even in detention. Is still even in captivity. Leah Sharibu. And close to 9 years later, we're still talking about the Chibok girls. We're still talking about Chibok girls. That one is even a whole issue on its own that maybe we'll talk about some other time. You see, so when it comes to the issue of insecurity, part of what I want to talk about today, for me, I think the government doesn't have the political will to fight insecurity. Otherwise, we would have, combated this issue that is eating deep into the fabric of the Nigerian state today. Because if you look at how much have been budgeted and expended for defense, security, even the countries who are at war, they don't even. I don't think they spend this much, or they have this amount of casualty that we have in Nigeria today. Now, the second thing I want to talk about today is what is the future of opposition in Nigeria? What is the future of opposition? Because the main party, the party that Vincent Ogbulafo said will rule for 60 years, I think what they need. Okay, let me see. All right. Okay, so now we've seen all what is happening in the PDP. There are conspiracy theories everywhere saying that, what is happening in the PDP today is something, is sponsored by the opposition, is sponsored by the ruling APC. What is happening in the PDP today, they've taken advantage of what happened in 2023, the build up to the primaries and all of that. And what we are seeing today in the PDP is something that is sponsored by the APC. Well, we don't know how true it is, but somehow it looks like those assertions are not far-fetched, because we've seen over time that let's say the remote cause of the problem in the PDP today is the issue of zoning. That has been a very big factor, a very huge factor in Nigerian politics, the issue of zoning. A non-constitutional approach that political parties use to ensure that people, get what is due to them in the party, and how power is zoned in the party. In before 2015, Atiku, maybe in our next episode of what is happening in Nigeria, maybe I want to talk about why Atiku might never be president of Nigeria. Maybe I want to bring it up here. Maybe I'll probably come with someone and then we'll talk about. You see, in the build up to 2015 election, after Jonathan had said in 2011 that he wasn't going to seek re-election after his 2011 to 2015 tenure, but his body language changed, and then he decided he was going to seek re-election. And Atiku and the rest of them felt aggrieved, and then we have the five governors, the G5. And they left the party with Atiku and all of that. They supported the APC. APC got into power. It became a problem for Atiku now to get into power. In 2019, he didn't get. Now, Buhari, power was zoned to the north because Jonathan had finished, of course, with all the controversies that greeted Jonathan's insistence of contesting the election in 2011. So, we saw the power was zoned to the north, and Buhari did his 8 years. And then Atiku wants to run again. That means he muscled his way, he won the primaries. That means, where is the equity? Where is the justice? We already have power in the north for 8 years. So ordinarily, power should go to the south. The argument of another G5 that left the PDP in 2002, 2003, and supported the APC, a candidate from the south. And now we have seen that brought a lot of problem in the party, because there were assertions that, Iyorchia Ayu would step down if a northern candidate wins the primary, because he's also from the north and all of that. We didn't see all of those things happen. At the end of the day, the irreparable damage has already been done to the PDP. These people are already gone, and then it became a big problem. And then all of a sudden, leadership also started, and the PDP is now in disarray because they said National Working Committee meeting will be held on the 30th. Now we're approaching the 30th, and I heard Damagum has said that meeting would not hold. And then we've heard from different factions of the PDP saying the meeting will hold. And then all of this issue about who is the authentic national secretary of the party. And you see, all of these things has now become a problem that is tearing the PDP apart. And with all of these things, because in Anambra State, in the forthcoming gubernatorial election, nobody from the PDP picked a ticket. And we're going to see that happen in some other states because of the issues who will sign all of these forms. So it has become a problem now. The PDP is in disarray. So, and we've seen governors for states who have always been traditional PDP states from 1999, they're now decamping to the APC. And we heard that more will follow suit. So what is the future of opposition politics in Nigeria? And now we've seen that some people, are hell-bent on removing Tinubu come 2027. And one of such person is Nasir El-Rufai. Now, some people have said that his grievances with the party, his grievances with the president, is that the president did not fulfill his promise, of making him a minister in the cabinet. And because of that, he's now aggrieved. He's now questioning the leadership style and policy of the present administration. And now he's now towing the line of Nigerians and some Nigerians that Bola Tinubu must not go back as president come 2027. And now they are forming coalition because obviously, before I get to other parties, because obviously the main opposition, which is the PDP, is now in disarray, and Labour Party as well is also in disarray. And just a few days ago, we saw people whom the national chairman of the SDP said were sponsor politicians to destabilize the SDP. Yes, there were footages everywhere. The national chairman, the incumbent, said these people were sponsored by unknown politicians to cause this problem in the party, so the party will be destabilized. Now, we've seen these coalition members led by, the likes of Nasir El-Rufai trying to form a new political party, the All Democratic Alliance, stuff like that, the ADA. They've even submitted their interest, expression of interest with to the Independent Electoral Commission. So, will INEC register this party? Because INEC already says they'll have more than 100 political parties already expressing interest to be registered and recognized as a political party. So my question now is, because the rate at which we've seen mass endorsement from the Northwest, we've seen endorsement of Bola Tinubu by governors of Northwest, we've seen endorsement of Tinubu by governors, so many persons, in fact, who are just falling over themselves to endorse Tinubu. But like Senator Alin Dume said, that the politicians are the ones defecting. Are the voters defecting? But one question you should ask yourself again, will the votes count? Did the votes actually count in 2023? Did the votes count? I'm not sure. Did the votes count? So maybe these politicians know something that we do not know. And sometimes when you hear some of the narratives, or when you hear some of the things that these politicians say about elections and power, they do not give any iota of recognition that power comes from the people. To them, power comes from the elite. Because we've seen how some politicians like Akpabio and co have sycophantically endorsed Tinubu, and they've said all manner of things about opposition and the rest of them. Now it leaves you, to wonder if actually power comes from the people, or power is gotten from the ballot boxes, or power is just gotten from the politicians who have the financial wherewithal to go about elections, or who have certain positions. They feel, they have what it takes to get into power. So my question is, what is the future of opposition politics in Nigeria, because what we have in Nigeria is worrisome. Nigeria is gradually tilting towards the one-party state. So what is the future of opposition politics in Nigeria? We really need to ask this question, because with all the main political parties, in disarray, internal conflict, so much internal conflict that they've even described coalition politicians as political IDPs. It's going to be serious come 2027. It's going to be very, very serious come 2027. And I don't know what the future holds for 2027. And it bothers me a lot when what is the future? Will the ADA make any impact? And from my analysis, I can see that there's another party who wants to be ADA too. So, what will be the future of opposition politics? Because if care is not taken on the way things are going, and the kind of confidence that the president and the APC they're assuming right now, it's very, very possible. It's very, very possible that APC might just return. So what does that portray for democracy and political party electioneering political party politics in Nigeria? It's a big problem. What is the future of opposition politics in Nigeria? Maybe in subsequent episodes of what is happening in Nigeria, maybe as the events unfold. From now, maybe it's too early to call, but definitely we'll see in coming days what will be the future of these parties in Nigeria. So maybe let's see. Let's assume there's still time. Let's assume there's still time, and then we'll see. And maybe with time we'll discuss, because I don't think I will have to say that now. Maybe I'll discuss that in a subsequent edition of what is happening in Nigeria. So, but so far so good. The future doesn't look too bright, sort of, for opposition politics in Nigeria, because if you do a comparative analysis of opposition politics before 2011, 2015, 2019, 2023, and what is going to happen in 2027, it's very, very clear that the future is kind of bleak for opposition politics in Nigeria. Now, that brings us to our third topic today that I said we'll have to talk about given the time that we have, and like I said, in our subsequent live session on what is happening in Nigeria, I will bring in a guest that we will discuss some issues. And please, you can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel and keep a date with us. Every Wednesday, we'll discuss what is happening in Nigeria. So if it's not Thursday, it's going to be Friday or Thursday, or Wednesday or Thursday. But we'll always, I beg your pardon, every Thursday, we'll discuss what is happening in Nigeria, where we try to analyze some key political issues that are happening in Nigeria, as it relates to election, public policy, governance, security, insecurity, what have you, everything that is happening in Nigeria. So now another issue I want us to talk about today is, right now there is serious protest going on in thank you. Now there's serious issue, massive protests going on in Kenya. The people are demanding the resignation of William Ruto. Why? Because since he came in, they said the economy has gone down. There's so much borrowing. And all of this is enforced by the implementation of IMF policy. The same IMF policy that Tinubu is implementing in Nigeria right now, and has caused so much suffering, so much poverty, so much suffering, and all of that. And where are the Nigerian youths? When people protest in Nigeria, protest is a legitimate right of every Nigerian. When people protest in Nigeria, they are, there's so much, arrest. They say they want to cause anarchy. They give different narratives and they sponsor people who do counter protest. And for me, I think I have a problem with Nigerian youths. With Nigerian youths over time, I think they're more interested in who's richer between Davido, Wizkid, and Burna Boy, who's richer between Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, and who is, which pastor is the best in Nigeria, and all of that. I think Nigerian youths, we just channel our energy into very mundane things, while the political elite just get away with so much of political crime. Because what's happening in Nigeria is a political crime. And we're like what a former presidential candidate said, that Nigeria is a crime scene. There's no doubt about that Nigeria is a crime scene. So how are we going to continue to look away while all of these things happen? Isn't it about time we take a cue from what is happening in Kenya? Because the country belongs to us. It belongs to our children and our children's children. What are we doing to rescue Nigeria? What are we doing? Because if you call for protest now, of course, definitely some people from the Southwest will not want to be part of it because they say our brother is the one that is president. The same thing we saw happen in 2012 when Nigerians stripped out a mask, especially Northerners stripped out a mask because Jonathan removed subsidy on petroleum product. And then we saw all of these things happening and they say, oh, because our brother, those in the core South, harmful of protest because they felt our brother is there. These are some of the problems happening in Nigeria. So when will Nigerian youth get up? Let's, leave all of these sentiments aside. Religion, we have to leave all of these things aside. Otherwise, very soon we might not have it even in Nigeria to call our own. Look at what's happening in Kenya. Protests. People want to take the country back. They are tired. It's about time Africa needs to, we need to, remove ourselves from the umbilical cord of the West to show that, because what is happening, it's really mind-boggling. So things happen in Nigeria. So I want to really thank you for those who have joined us in this inaugural or the maiden edition of What is Happening in Nigeria on Geopolitical Blog. We thank you for those who watched. We thank you for those who liked. We thank you so much for those who just peeped in and they left. We'll be going live every Thursday for at least an hour to discuss what is happening in Nigeria. We'll discuss key issues as it borders on governance, public policy, politics, and whatever that catches our fancy. And like I said, in the next edition of the next episode of What's Happening in Nigeria on Geopolitical Blog, I'll be having a guest where we'll analyze some of these key issues on some of the things that are happening in Nigeria. And for those who are going to be part of this, if you want certain topics and you think we have to discuss, you can always drop them in the comment section. We'll go through them and then find somebody who will have all these discussions. So I really thank everyone, all my subscribers, everyone who liked, all those who are supporting Geopolitical Blog to ensure that we get to a height that we want to. I thank you. We're not able to spend the required time or talk too much about what's happening in Nigeria today because this is just our maiden edition. So I thank everyone who has been part of the program. I really, really do thank you. Thank you. And please don't forget to like, share, and get others to subscribe. Thank you so much.